Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so glad to see each of you all in here. We're in for a treat this afternoon. We have a giant in the industry that is going to give us nuggets that are going to change our lives. Y'all ready for your life to be changed? And so I don't know where my person is for the bio, but I'm going to speak about this great lady who is also the chair of the Hub Advisory Council. And so we have Denisha Harris with us today. And so Denisha is going to give us some good nuggets to help us in what we do every day because it takes a circle of champions to do this work. It takes passion, it takes drive, it takes strategy. And this lady is going to give us all of that today. So take good notes and let's go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alicia. I really appreciate the opportunity to come before you and speak today. This is certainly a topic that I am extremely passionate about. I've been doing this work for a number of years, and I have a little bit about myself in the next slide. But most importantly, I love connecting with individuals. I love connecting with business owners, contractors, owners, the folks in this room. It's a great opportunity for us to come together and to collaborate. So hopefully I will not let you down. Hopefully this will change your life for the better. But more importantly, I want all of us to learn from each other. I want us to feel comfortable engaging and talking about some of the practices that you may be performing that helps you diversify to thrive. So when we look at the title for today's presentation, it is just that, diversify to thrive. How many folks heard the moniker coming into 2025 says that we're going to thrive in 2025? How many people heard that moniker? A few people? I heard that moniker a lot, and I adopted it myself because I understood that in order to move forward, I needed that mindset. And so when I think about being a hub champion and the principles that we're going to talk about today, being a hub champion, diversifying your contractors, diversifying your supplier base will help you thrive in business, will help you thrive as an owner, and will help as we move forward in this industry. But before I get started today, I would like to understand who's in the room and kind of see who our audience is today. So I wanted all of our professionals to say hello. So maybe you fit into one of these four categories. If you are an owner and you're a project manager on a firm or on a contract, so most likely you may work for a local government, state government, you may work for a university, you may be in the private sector. But if you're a project manager, raise your hand. Great, we've got a few project managers in the room. All right, if you're a prime contractor, can you raise your hand? Fantastic, I see your hands, wonderful. If you're in the trades, if you typically serve as a subcontractor, if you would please raise your hand. Fantastic, great. And I have a category for other professionals. Those are individuals who may serve as your hub coordinators, your business inclusion professionals. Can you raise your hand? I see a few folks in the room. Fantastic. We have a great diversity of folks in the room who have a diversity of perspectives, and that is going to make this presentation even better. So I'm looking forward to hearing from each perspective in the room. I come to the table as an owner. I work for the town of Cary. I also come to the table as a other professional, in that I spent the majority of my career, over 15 years, in procurement and as an MWBE professional. So a lot of the presentation will come from those lenses, but the information is applicable to everyone that's in the room because everyone has the opportunity to think about how to diversify their contractors, how to diversify their suppliers and service providers. So let's move forward. So I mentioned that I've been in local government. I have been in local government for 18 years. I've had the pleasure and the opportunity to work for the city of Greenville, North Carolina, and also the town of Cary. In those 18 years, I worked in finance. I had the opportunity to work in procurement for 16 years, and now I serve as the assistant finance director for the town of Cary, where I've been in that position for almost 2 years now. And so when we look at the numbers, I've spent a lot of time working in this profession, and I've learned a lot as I've worked in this profession. And I would love to bring that to you today. But first, we're at the State Construction Conference. How has the conference been so far? Pretty good? Good. Now, how was the food? Good, because I missed it. So let me know. Yes, yes. But it looked good. It looked good. So I'm glad you've had a great conference so far. And I'm sure some of the themes that we've heard throughout the conference is just how much the construction industry is growing, just how much work is out there in both the public and private sector. So I took the liberty of getting a few statistics here, and this is from the Associated General Contractors of America. The economic impact of construction just in North Carolina, looking at the third quarter of 2024, was almost $42 billion. That is a huge number. Just in the fourth quarter of 2024. When you look at how that is impacting our economy in different ways, we can look at employment. How is construction employment increasing? I'll ask you to read this from right to left instead of left to right. It may make more sense that way. But when you look at the pre-pandemic state in February of 2020, and then go to August 2024, the employment in construction has gone up 15%. Huge increase. Just in that 1 year marker, looking at August 2023 to August 2024, it's gone up an additional 4%. So we're seeing these increases year over year since the pandemic, where employment trends are trending up because the work has increased. So let's narrow down our focus and look at public sector projects. If you look at the municipal building construction sector in North Carolina, just looking at this state, it is projected to reach a market size of $5.7 billion by 2025. There will be 1,440 businesses employing approximately 4,000 individuals. So in North Carolina, the construction industry is booming, public sector. So what else is going on during this time frame? A lot of us in this room understand exactly what these numbers are telling us. We understand that public construction costs are on the rise. If you're a project manager and you're doing cost estimating, you understand just how important it is to know what the market is today, because it could change. So when we look at January 2025, last month, North Carolina experienced a 1% increase in construction cost from December to January, a 4% increase over the previous quarter, and a 16% increase over the last year. Is that resonating with anyone in the room? Construction costs are going up. So when we look at this market that's growing, and we look at the opportunity that's available, and then we also look at the costs and how they're increasing, it makes us put on our entrepreneurial hat. It makes us put on our thinking cap as to how we can capitalize on the market and still make gains. So how do we conserve the public dollar? Because again, I'm taking it from the lens of the public setting. So when we think about the public dollar, we're looking at the lowest responsive responsible bidder. How many folks have heard that phrase? Right? So when the agencies are evaluating your bids, they're first going to look at cost. So the premise of this presentation is, if you're looking to save costs, if you're looking to do a better quality service, be more innovative, be able to provide the quality service that you need for your customers and for your clients, one key factor that you can do that will increase your quality, help you save on cost, is to diversify. Diversify to thrive. As owners, we understand that when you're able to increase competition in public bidding, it can lead to lower prices and it can lead to improved quality and service. That is the same factor when you look as a prime contractor, inviting more people to the table, inviting more opportunities to your larger market. You have the opportunity to reap the benefit of that competition. Everyone in this room is likely familiar with statute. North Carolina General Statute 143-128.2. Diversity is baked into our general statute. The state shall have a verifiable 10% goal for all minority businesses and the total value of work for each state building project. So I talked a little bit about this. When you're thinking about diversifying to thrive, you have to ask yourself the question, what is the benefit? What is the rationale for me going through the process of quoting and bidding, as opposed to perhaps going with a vendor that I've always gone with? Competitive pricing pressure is one of the key factors that happens when you diversify. When more contractors bid on a project, they compete to offer the most attractive pricing. This is something that happens with us as consumers. When we look at the private sector, when we are making our own purchases, the more competition that there is in the market and the more that these companies are seeking your dollar, they have to make themselves more attractive and more competitive to you as a consumer. How do they do that? Some companies do it by looking at what is the most economical, what is the most reasonable. And so because of the competition in the market, they have to make themselves more attractive. And so the same thing happens when we are bidding with our projects. As public sector owners, the wider the net that we cast, the more vendors, the more contractors we have at the table, it does increase that pressure. And it has the potential to give us better pricing. Each bidder, when they are at the table, is incentivized to reduce profit margins, streamline costs, and offer better terms to win the contract. Now, that of course means without sacrificing quality and without sacrificing the total outcome of the project. However, when competition comes in the room, we tend to straighten our collar a little bit and we tend to sharpen our pencil. So that's an opportunity for diversity. This phrase is something that I tell my PMs all the time. When firms compete, owners win. So why diversify? Take advantage of competing pricing pressure and making sure that you allow all contractors to the table. Another reason why we diversify is because of lower material and labor costs. When we think about bidders coming to the table, they tend to negotiate better deals with suppliers and subcontractors to submit the lowest bid possible. So again, your prime contractors are then going to be more judicious in how they move forward in their bids and their quotes to ensure they're getting the best price for themselves so they can give the best price to the owner. Bidders may also diversify their suppliers to achieve greater cost savings. This results in cost savings being passed on to the project owner. So on the materials and the labor side, you will see negotiation. You will see opportunity where individuals will be more strategic in how they bid their supplies and their services. So why do we diversify? Perhaps there may be lower material and labor costs. Improved efficiency and innovation. So we're in a time where AI has now become into the forefront. We understand all of us are figuring out how to use AI to do our jobs better. We have the opportunity to use this artificial intelligence at rapid speed. We're able to become more efficient. We're able to gather resources and gather information at a greater rate and a greater speed, and it helps us do our jobs better. It's the same thing for the construction industry. When there is more competition at the table, contractors are looking for ways that they can save money, but still bring forward value. And looking at technology, looking at efficiencies is one way to do that. When we look at smart technology like artificial intelligence, it can help with project management. We can also look at just the way we do business as an opportunity for efficiency. So just-in-time materials delivery. Perhaps these materials can be delivered just in time for that particular phase of the project and not have to incur storage costs or wasted materials. Also, when we think about adaptive scheduling things so that the long-term project will be more efficient overall because of how your phases are scheduled. There are many opportunities, and I know folks in the room have already thought of this, already implementing these things. And what I've put here on the slide is just the tip of the iceberg of what prime contractors are utilizing in order to compete in this marketplace. When we think about diversifying, this sparks innovation. It sparks resilience. It allows individuals to think how they can pivot and how they can move in order to be the most competitive in the market. As consumers, as project managers, and as owners, we understand the benefit of that agility and that resilience. It gives us an opportunity to take advantage of and capitalize on that resilience. And so the overall market just gets more efficient and it gets better. Another reason why we diversify, and this is primarily from an owner perspective, but also from a prime contractor perspective. There are a limited number of bidders at the table. It does limit collusion or price fixing. There's more competition in the room. Also, a larger bidding pool makes it harder for contractors to coordinate pricing, ensuring fairer markets. So from an owner's perspective, this is the opportunity to let the market truly do what it needs to do by making sure there are enough bidders at the table. Also, when we think about the bid process, that lowest responsible bidder, if you have 10 or so bidders at the table, then you have the opportunity to evaluate and to negotiate those bids without pressure of feeling that you may have to rebid the project because there is not a responsive bidder at the table. You can go to your next low bidder without having to rebid. You also capitalize on that innovation, the competition, the competitive pricing pressures, and the lower materials and labor costs. You're capitalizing on the shifts in the market. Because again, if we go to bid for something on a regular cadence, this is as owners, if we go to bid for something on a regular basis, then we're ensuring that the market of today and the value that's in the market of today, our particular industry or our particular organization will benefit from. So if we had a relationship for, say, the last 5 years, and there's been innovations and there have been things that have happened in the industry, are we necessarily going to capture those innovations? Because perhaps there are other firms out in the industry that have moved ahead in that area, and maybe the firm that we've contracted with is still doing it the way they've done it before. But we don't know that until we go to market, until we have the opportunity to test the market. So it gives those who are on the receiving side the opportunity to take advantage of what's happening in the market today so that we can be sure that we're getting the best quality goods and services at the best price. Can you tell I'm a procurement professional? Can you tell this is what I do? Yes. So when we're thinking about public bidding, these are the decisions that we bring to the table, or the considerations that we bring to the table. So I'm going to pause there and let that digest a bit. Those are all of the opportunities that we have when we include diversity. When we diversify in this industry, we have the opportunity to take advantage of and capitalize on all of the things that I've listed there. The fortunate thing in North Carolina is that we already have statute in place that allows us to bake in our diversity into our building construction projects. So when we think about the Office of Historically Underutilized Businesses, the Hub Office, we know that the Hub Office is responsible for administering our Hub programs and ensuring those programs happen across the state. Our statute outlines very clearly what those requirements are. In statute, state and local governments, as well as prime contractors, are required to engage in certain activities to increase the participation of Hub firms. Of course, our Hub firms are our certified firms that meet the criteria for historically underutilized business. We have a database of those firms available. It's a very easy way that we can solicit a wide pool of diverse vendors and have them be a part of our bid process. It is important to note that Hub statute does not require set-asides. It does not require quotas. What the Hub statute requires is opportunity. And what the Hub statute requires is a good faith effort. It allows diverse firms to have a seat at the table to push all of the levers that I mentioned earlier. That is the purpose of the Hub statute. Number one thing, the Hub statute does not override the competitive bid statute, Article 8. The competitive bid statute says that we award to the lowest responsible bidder. So that means that once all of the bidders come to the table, diverse, all firms, our decision criteria is the same. We are still looking at who can be our lowest responsible bidder. Hub statute does not override that, but it creates conditions so that everyone has an opportunity to compete. This is just a quick overview of the statutory requirements. Everyone in the room is likely familiar with the 10% goal for building construction projects. There's a certain list of things that owners must do, including developing their outreach plan, making sure that they're notifying those hub firms in due time, in a specific amount of time. They're advertising through media outlets where the hub community is more likely to be informed. They're requiring good faith efforts from prime contractors, and we have to report our activities to the hub office. That, of course, is for building construction projects $300,000 and above. Also, at that level, what I call the formal hub requirements, prime contractors are required to resubmit those affidavits or those forms that you're likely familiar with. It also puts in place opportunities that if a subcontractor must be replaced, that you continue to make those good faith efforts to substitute with another hub firm. And so this 10% goal is a coordinated opportunity between the owner and the prime contractor. On the informal side, we have the opportunity to continue to solicit hub participation, to document our efforts for recruitment, to maintain that record of hubs solicited and report that to the hub office. And this is building construction that's below that $300,000 mark. So that's what the law states. But the title of this presentation is one, Diversify to Thrive, but it also says how to lead as a hub champion. Now, my definition of a champion is a person who wins. My definition of a champion is one that doesn't just do the bare minimum, but they do what they need to do to win at a certain outcome. And what that means is your outcome is opportunity. So how do we increase the opportunity for our hub firms? I would submit there are 3 things that you can do. The first thing you can do is increase access. Increasing access to hub firms in your bid opportunities is the #1 way that you can thrive in this market. Also, we must reduce the barriers. There are barriers in the construction space that can disadvantage our hub firms and any firm, to be honest. So how can we reduce those barriers? And thirdly, I would say there are particular helps that we can provide that will be of great assistance so that our hub firms do indeed have that equal opportunity. Now, this is a time where you can interact with me and we can talk about some of the things that you're already doing as a hub champion, because if you're in this room, I believe you're already a champion. And we can discuss what are some ways that you've increased access? What are some ways that you've reduced barriers? And what are some helps that you're currently doing to ensure that hub firms do have that equal opportunity? And it's not only the MWBE hub professionals in the room, it's also the prime contractors in the room. It's also the owners in the room. What are we all doing to be hub champions? So let's start at the top. When we think about access, what does that mean to you? How would you define that as a hub champion? How do you define access? Would anyone like to volunteer? Take your pick. There you go. Access to information. Very good. That's a very good definition. Would anyone else like to share? Very good. I think that would be a great definition that we can carry through with this discussion. So access to information is critically important in order to submit the best bid possible. So from an owner perspective, access to information includes what are your plans? What projects do you have coming down the pike? So when those opportunities come to bear, your prime contractors and your subcontractors are available. And most of us who are on the owner side do work for public agencies. So it's a public record, it's public information. So how can we make that information readily available? Has anyone in the room heard about procurement planning? On the owner side, procurement planning. Has anyone conducted procurement plans? And it doesn't have to be procurement plans. I would say that your capital improvement plans fall under that same category, which essentially says over the next 3, 6, 12 months, what do we plan to bid out? What do we plan to include as part of our construction plan? And so having that detailed and having that available in writing on your website, easily accessible to any partner, is an opportunity to increase access. Would you all agree? Very good. Also, when I mentioned about formal versus informal, on the procurement side, we know that our formal construction projects for building construction, since that's where we are, $500,000 and above. Anything below that is considered informal. Now, when we think about what are the formal requirements for solicitation, it includes public solicitation. It's something that has to be publicly available, advertised in a newspaper, or if you've done your due diligence, then you can advertise electronically. What does that do when we publicly advertise? What's the number one outcome when we do that? That orange bar right there? Yeah, access. That's right. It increases access. And so what if we were to do that for more than just formal projects? Would that also increase access? So when we think about our public solicitations for construction, particularly when we know that this construction project has a greater opportunity to solicit trades or subcontractors, if we were to publicly advertise those, we would have the opportunity to create more access for those hub firms. So to be a hub champion, you can encourage more public solicitation. Now, if public solicitation is something that is not on the table, you can also institute something called a minimum bid rule, which essentially means that anytime I go out to bid for something, I'm going to contact a minimum of 3 people, 5 people, whatever your rule is. But what you're doing is making sure that you have competition, right? You're not just reaching out to 1 or 2, but if all possible, minimum of 3. So instituting a minimum bid rule for informal solicitations is a great way to increase access. We've talked about the Hub database. The Hub database is an opportunity for you to have free access to firms who are certified by a third party, which is the Hub office, that meet that Hub standard. And that database is available for you to not only download and be able to send your solicitations directly, you can also contact the Hub office and post it on their website. You can also gain access to the hub firms by publishing on EVP. There are many ways that you can directly reach out to our hub firms that are in the hub database. These are firms that are ready, willing, and able to do business with you. There's also the opportunity to use plan rooms that target hub businesses and partner with business support providers to build relationships with those firms. So one thing that Alicia mentioned at the top of the hour is that I do serve as the chair of the Hub Advisory Council. I also serve as president of the North Carolina MWBE Coordinators Network. If there are any past or present Coordinators Network members in the room, please raise your hand. Fantastic. These are the individuals you need to be contacting with. Raise your hand again. These are the individuals you need to be building relationships with because they have a main line to our hub firms. And they're here to assist in making sure firms have an equal opportunity, connecting projects, opportunities with hub firms. So reach out to your business support providers. Reach out to the network. Absolutely. So that's another procurement professional in the room who's also a MWBE hub professional. So according to North Carolina General Statute, your informal threshold limit is 30,000. So it's 30,000 and above, up to whatever the upper threshold is. Below 30,000, the statute is silent. What that means is you can come up with your own policies and your own rules as to how you, if you're a public agency, choose to bid that work. And so when we think about the opportunity below 30,000, small dollar purchases, your risk is lower. The barriers to entry is lower. So it provides an opportunity for a firm that you may not have done business with before to gain entree into doing business with your organization so that you can build those relationships and perhaps open up the door to bigger opportunities. So very good. That is another opportunity for access. Now, how do we become champions? How do we become winners? Doing those things that are beyond what the law requires. When we think about our supplies or materials you require or prefer on a contract, are those supplies and materials available to a wide number of vendors? Or are we picking supplies and materials that are only available to a select number of vendors? So in fact, you're limiting the pool of contractors that can actually submit on the work. Sometimes your specifications can be so tight that we do eliminate or strictly limit competition. So just think about that as we're moving forward and being hub champions. Also thinking about your bidder qualifications. Do they go above and beyond what is actually required for the contract? Are we requiring more than it takes to actually do the work, perform on the job? And if that's the case, then maybe we should reevaluate that. Are there opportunities where we can loosen those qualifications to provide more opportunity for more diverse firms? And this is a big one. This is a big one for all of us. Do you prefer contractors that you've done business with before? How many people like to be comfortable? I have uncomfortable shoes for a reason, because I like to be comfortable, right? But sometimes we miss out on the greatest things because we want to be comfortable. It's really comfortable for me not to travel and go places because maybe I don't like to get on an airplane, or maybe, it would be too much of my budget for me to figure out how to make this trip work, right? I'm comfortable doing what I've done and kind of going about my way. But again, we miss out on some of the biggest benefits when we don't go outside of our comfort zone. And it's the same thing with doing business with others. It's a relationship. We know it's a relationship. And it takes time to build those relationships. That's why we ask individuals and prime contractors to come to our mix and meets, to come to our pre-bid meetings so that you can meet subcontractors, so that you can build that relationship before bid day. So that if it's a part of your strategic plan to increase hub participation, I love strategic planning. It's one of my favorite things to do. And the reason why is because systems work. They really do. And so if you have a plan to increase your outreach, then you just work backwards, right? And we say to ourselves, how can we increase the number of people or contractors, subs, that bid on our work? Well, we have to get to know them. We have to meet them. We have to know who they are. So what ways can we know who they are? We can go to the Hub database. We can talk to Alicia and her team. We can also go to these outreaches. Okay, but I'm uncomfortable. I've never done business with this person before or this business before. So let's start on the smaller dollar contracts so we can build that relationship, see how it works. It's a system, it's a process. If you want to be a champion, if you want to win, make the process work for you. So, any other opportunities for access? Love to hear from the room if you have any other examples of how this has worked for you, or of ideas that has been running around in your head that you'd like to implement. And perhaps there are individuals in the room that can say, oh, I've done that and it was great. Or I did that and you may want to tweak it a little bit. Anybody in the room that wants to talk about access? Wow, I have an assistant.
Yes, test. I think my question is, so I'm from a CM. So I'm looking at your site right now, and it looks like it's changed some since the last time I looked at it, where it gives you an opportunity if you're, a someone that's looking to participate, you can type in what the solicitation type is and see all this kind of stuff. I don't ever remember seeing that, and it might have been there for a while, but so anyway, has the process changed? And I just want to make sure if the process has changed some, or there's other ways that we need to, as the CM, to be making sure that we're following all these things that you have tested already that provide access.
Understood. And so I'm going to ask, are you looking at the DOA's Hub website? Yes, and you're searching for firms. Awesome. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yes. Yes. So I will let the Hub office chime on this. But as an end user, yes, they have made a lot of improvements to increase access and participation for both the owner and for the contractor as well. Is there anyone from the Hub office that'd like to speak to that? John, thank you.
And those filters, there's a lot of different opportunities or different ways that you can filter by location, by organization that's putting that out. And that could be a prime, that could be a university, community college, local government, whatever. You can also look at it by the date range, or I'm just looking for construction related things, or engineering and architectural opportunities. So there's different ways that you can look through those solicitations. And on the main Hub office website, and don't ask me what the website address is, just Google it and say NC Hub office. You might not even need to say office, but that'll take you to our site. And there's a place on there to submit a solicitation opportunity. And if you're a prime, that's how you would get it onto that dashboard. So if you are looking for Hub subcontractors, you can go in there and put your project on there, and you can say, when is the pre-bid meeting? Hey, we've got our specs posted at this website. So it gives you opportunity to put information like that out there.
And what's the lead time on that? I'm sorry.
We ask for 2 days, 2 business days of notice. And if it comes in, 10 days before the bid, we want to make sure that they have, by the time we post it, we want to make sure that there's 10 days from that point. So don't come to us 5 days before the bid is due to post it. We'll send you a polite email saying people need more notice, and we're going to decline posting that one. So if you think about it, like get it to us 12 to 15 days ahead of time, that's probably a little bit more ideal. If you can provide more time, that gives folks an opportunity to take a look at it, see if that's a good opportunity for them, and see if that's something that they should be reaching out to you on.
Thank you so much. That was a great question. Anyone else on access? So absolutely, the Hub website is a great way to post your bids and an opportunity to increase the access for your firms. Let's move to reducing barriers. So when we think about reducing barriers from an owner's perspective, unbundling projects is a primary or very important way where we can increase the opportunity for our diverse firms. So when we think about unbundling those projects, we're looking at those projects that would likely increase your participation or likely have subcontractors, a large number of subcontractors that would be eligible to bid on that type of work. So when you're thinking about unbundling, those are the types of pieces and parts of the total scope that you would want to pull out, because you know from your history and from talking to the Hub office that, hey, there's a great opportunity for diversity in this particular sector. So yes, let's unbundle that, pull that out so that we can increase participation. So having projects so that they're not too large, not too big, so you're widening your net so that more vendors can have opportunity to bid, will absolutely reduce your barriers and increase your opportunity for participation. When we look at the project reviews, when we're creating our capital improvement plan and we know what we want to bid, it's during those project reviews that we can understand the different pieces, parts, and components. If you don't have a diversity professional on staff, there are tons of resources that can help you as you figure out where is the most opportunity for your diverse spend. So pulling those projects out will definitely help you in increasing participation. We can also think about your delivery method. Your delivery method can have an impact on the availability for diversity within your project. So are you using a delivery method that has historically increased participation of diverse firms? Or are you using another delivery method that has maybe decreased that participation? Again, look at your system. Look at your trends. Over time, look at the types of projects you bid, look at the delivery method, and look at your overall participation and see where you have your highest levels of participation. Where that participation is high, see where you can replicate that. And that's how you make your system work for you and you can be a Hub champion. Also, think about your business practices. Could it be that your business practices are undermining your good faith efforts? Are they decreasing the opportunity for diversification? Payment terms is a big one. Are your payment terms 60 days or longer? That's too long typically for a small business. Having something that's shorter with quick pay agreements will increase your diversity. Also, when you think about standard insurance requirements or even bonding requirements, there is absolutely a standard there, but are you requiring above and beyond what that standard is? If so, reconsider and think how you can lower those standards to, again, increase your net of participation. That specifically goes to your owners as well. There are, of course, statutory laws around bonding, but if you're requiring bonds on projects that, one, does not require bonds statutorily, or requiring something above and beyond what is necessary, let's reconsider and see how we can reduce the standard to match what's actually needed and required. Barriers. Is there anyone in the room that wants to talk about some of the barriers that you've been able to reduce and increasing participation. Any business practice that you saw that was reducing the opportunity for the folks to come to the table, but now since you've made that switch, you're seeing more participation. If there's anyone in the room that has an example that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. This one's kind of a hard one, only because you have to think in reverse. Any barriers?
um, the smaller firm can still work on the project even with the barrier, right? There's always barriers in key packages, big ones like electrical. It's a barrier because depending on what it is, I mean, if it's a K-12 school, it's pretty large, and you got to figure out how to participate. So, what we did one time, I'll share this. We had an MBE who had a license in mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. They were carrying all three licenses, but they could not bid the work because the bonds were on the package. So the prime electrical that was on it agreed to team with the minority electrician, but the component was to take the foreman from the minority electrician and put him with the foreman with the bigger prime so that he could learn how to manage a job on that scale and see the whole electrical part through, and then gradually bring a couple of the people from the firm in the job so they could learn the schedule, the manpower need, all of that. We did that one time and it worked out very well. And now they partner sometimes on other work. So I think figuring out ways to unbundle the work, say, is one of the ways, is how to do it. Even if you're in matchmaking, that's kind of what that was. That particular firm was big on it, but this would be the other component. The electrician that had the work was a WBE already, and they were willing to pull an MBE up that was not large enough capacity to do it. So I think teaming in a situation like that can cut up a work and they can get involved and learn the big work.
I love that. I see your hand behind you.
Another way is to help them understand the solicitation, because we put a lot of stuff in our solicitations that everyone is not going to understand. Everyone can't hire a lawyer. Everyone can't hire a estimator. So I think when we're asked, I think once they receive it, it intimidates them. So I think we need to find a way to make it a little easier for them to understand. Of course, we have to put it out for everyone to be able to understand, but everyone, even some of the larger firms sometimes don't even get it right. So, the smaller firms are not going to understand it. So I think we need to, as our government agencies and people that are putting out the bid solicitations, need to just be more mindful of that, because that is a barrier.
One thing I want to share is that the Hub office does have monthly trainings, and we do have a generic bid that we have a director for our purchasing that goes over step by step how to complete a bid and a proposal. So we encourage firms to take a look at that as well, just piggybacking off what Pam said.
Fantastic. Tons of resources in the room. I love what you said, sir, from Salmon, I believe you said, about being creative and using teaming as an opportunity to say, hey, the barrier's still there, but how can I work with this individual to really build capacity, which is a help and reducing a barrier. So I love that. And Pam, I also appreciate the need to write specifications in plain language. A lot of it is legalese, a lot of it is boilerplate that we can't avoid, but that pre-bid meeting is a great opportunity to break it down. We can do some more plain language. And also remember that your procurement professional is there to assist in those areas as well as the Hub office. So what are some other helps that we can provide? Education, outreach, and capacity building. Teaching your firm how to engage with your agency is critically important. We're all under the same statute. We may have different local policies, but we also have different cultures. We have different ways of doing business. Educating firms on how to do business with your firm, whether you are an owner, even if you're a prime contractor, that can increase opportunity and increase the likelihood of success in that opportunity. There are such things as business education programs. At one time, there was a contractors college where, or a hub academy where individuals can go and understand the hows and the whys of running the business and managing projects and estimating even. Those opportunities are there to really help our diverse firms be competitive in the market. And then from the standpoint of the owner or the individual who is seeking that participation, outreach is necessary and it's important. We talked in the beginning a lot about building relationships. Relationships are the glue. And so I like to consider outreach kind of like the pole or kind of like the olive branch that says, hey, I'm interested. I want to learn more. I want to do business with you. So now let's start that relationship. And it can be a matchmaking opportunity. It could be a mix and meet. It's the State Construction Conference. I'm sure many of you have met individuals that perhaps you didn't know before, whether they're a business resource provider like the MWBE Coordinators Network or a trade partner that could be a sub on your next project. These events, this is probably a lot of the reason why you're here, is to network and to meet individuals. So this is also a part of your outreach effort. Connect with agencies already supporting diverse firms to enhance contractor options. When we think about the different agencies that are available and out there, whether it be a contractor's agency, and I hate to name names, someone forget someone, but so you understand what I'm referring to, the Hispanic Contractors Association, the United Minority Contractors of North Carolina, they're already supporting diverse firms. So take advantage of those relationships. Capacity building with joint venturing, developing mentor-protege relationships, and making those good faith efforts outside of the bid process. I cannot stress that enough about how important it is to build those relationships outside of opportunities. And so the change from private versus public, there are more and more CMs going after your public projects, right? And so it's not unusual, 17, 25 CMs going after, projects. I don't know that there are, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there are 25 firms that are set with the capacity of joint venture or conversion with larger. So it kind of also almost seems like we've got to change the way we do it. And I remember at one time, and if anyone's here from NC State, at one time they really focused on the mentor protege. And they would say, if you don't have a partner, then after selection, they will provide party firms that could partner. And then they help interview them and something. That seems like something that would open up opportunities for all or more, because if you're not the person that gets, or the firm that gets selected with that particular CM, you may be partnered, but you're not getting the project because, 25, you know what I'm saying? I do. It just seems like it gets away from the, opportunity. Than they were at one time. And let's just talk about the size of the projects that are happening. Yeah. Right now. Yeah. NC State is at 860 Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. There's a lot of creativity in this room, and what we've discussed today is so critically important. But I have run out of time. You know, fly, time goes fast when you're having fun. So I just want to leave you with this thought that in order to be successful, you have to be committed. And I believe everyone in this room is committed. So continue to brainstorm, continue to think through how you can be a hub champion. And thank you for your time today.